Two people board the same flight to London. One paid $800 and is already doing the mental math on whether the extra legroom was worth it. The other paid $8,000 and is currently being handed a glass of champagne before the door is closed, in a seat that will become a bed, in a cabin that will feel nothing like the inside of an aircraft for the next 9 hours. Same plane, same altitude, same destination, completely different planets. And here is what most people do not know. That $8,000 seat is not the top of business class. There is a business class product above it that costs $15,000. There is one above that which costs $25,000. And there is a tier at the very top that does not have a published price because the people who sit in it do not book through the website and the airline does not need them to. So today I am breaking down the 7 levels of business class, from the premium economy passenger who thinks he upgraded to the traveler who boards a cabin that was configured specifically around his preferences before he arrived at the airport. Let's get into it. Level 1, Economy Plus, and the Premium Economy Illusion. This is where the upgrade dream begins and where the airline industry earns its most profitable margin per inch of additional legroom in the history of aviation. Premium economy runs $300 to $800 above a standard economy fare, depending on the route and the airline, and what you are willing to pay 12 hours before departure when the upgrade offer appears in your email, and you are already anxious about the flight. 4 additional inches of legroom, a slightly wider seat, a meal that arrives on a tray that is slightly less depressing than the economy tray. Priority boarding, which means you board 10 minutes before the people behind you and spend those 10 minutes standing in a jet bridge watching economy passengers board around you because the system is not as sequential as the gate agent implied. The man in premium economy has convinced himself he is in business class. He is not in business class. He is in the waiting room for the conversation about business class, and the airline designed this product specifically to extract additional revenue from people who want the upgrade but cannot justify the full step. He is valuable to the airline. He is also sitting in a seat that a genuine business class passenger would not recognize as the same category of experience. It is not level 2 short haul business class. This is where the word business class first appears on the boarding pass and where most people discover that the word means different things on different aircraft, on different routes operated by different airlines, with different ideas about what the front of the plane should contain. Short haul business class on a 2-hour European flight is typically an economy seat with the missile seat blocked. It's a slightly better meal service. So just and a boarding process that feels premium relative to the queue behind you. Price runs $400 to $2,200 above economy. The blocked middle seat is doing significant work in this transaction. The airline has taken a 3-seat row, removed 1 revenue-generating seat from service, and sold the remaining 2 seats at a premium that more than compensates for the lost economy fare. The passenger feels like he has space. He has the illusion of space created by an empty seat. He has paid for an empty seat and called it business class. And the airline has allowed this because the alternative framing is less commercially appealing. The man on the short haul business class seat is comfortable. He is also 2 hours from landing and has not experienced anything that the long haul passenger would recognize as the same product. Level 3, entry long haul business class. This is where the flight becomes a genuinely different experience and where the lie flat seat changes the relationship between distance and exhaustion permanently. Entry long haul business class on carriers like American, United, or Air Canada in their standard long haul configuration runs $2,000 to $5,000 depending on route and timing. A seat that converts to a fully flat bed. Real meals with actual choices served on actual crockery. A personal entertainment screen large enough to watch a film without leaning forward. A cabin that is separated from economy by more than a curtain pulled halfway across the aisle. The man who flies long-haul business class for the first time does not sleep for the first hour because he is too busy converting the seat into its various configurations and eating everything on the menu because it's included. By hour 3, he is horizontal. By hour 5, he has slept. He lands in a time zone 8 hours ahead of where he started and feels functional in a way that every previous long-haul economy flight in his life did not produce. He calls his assistant from the arrivals hall and books the return in business class before he has reached the taxi rank. He will never fly long haul economy again. This is not a preference. It is a physiological reset from which there is no return. Level 4, the competitive long haul business class product. This is where airlines stop competing on the seat and start competing on the experience, and where the gap between the best and the average becomes large enough to justify significant price differences between carriers on identical routes. Qatar Airways QSuites, Virgin Atlantic Upper Class, Delta One on the A350, price runs $4,000 to $9,000. The Q Suite is a private suite in a business class cabin, a door that closes, not a divider, not a privacy screen that folds up from the armrest, a door in business class on a commercial aircraft that closes. The suite has a personal mini bar, a vanity mirror, a storage system that was designed by someone who understood that a passenger traveling internationally needs to access specific items in a specific order and built the storage around that behavioral pattern rather than around what fit in the available space. The double suite configuration allows two Q suites to be combined into a shared space for passengers traveling together, creating the closest thing to a private cabin that exists within a business class product on a scheduled commercial service. The man who discovers Q Suites does not fly any other business class product on routes where Q Suites are available. The product has ruined him for everything below it, and he is comfortable with this. Level 5, the airline lounges and ground experience that redefines departure. This is where the business class experience stops being about what happens on the aircraft and starts being about what happens from the moment you leave your house. The best airline lounges in the world are not waiting rooms. They are destinations. The Qantas First Lounge in Sydney, the Lufthansa First Class Terminal in Frankfurt, which is technically a first class product, but which business class passengers at the right tier can access. The Emirates Business Class Lounge in Dubai, proper restaurants with menus designed by chefs, spa facilities with treatments bookable in advance of the flight, shower suites that are cleaner than most hotel bathrooms, dedicated staff whose job is to ensure that the time between arriving at the airport and boarding the aircraft is not dead time but usable time. The man who has learned to use the lounge properly arrives at the airport 2.5 hours before departure on an international flight, goes directly to the lounge, has a meal, takes a shower, responds to the emails that require responses, and boards the aircraft fed, clean, and mentally clear in a way that the passenger who spent 2 hours in the departures hall is not. The lounge is not an amenity. It is infrastructure for a different category of travel. Level 6, the airline's private terminal, and ultra premium ground handling. This is where commercial aviation begins borrowing operational language from private aviation, and where the gap between the top business class product and everything below it becomes a gap in kind rather than degree. Certain airlines operate private terminal facilities or dedicated VIP handling services for their highest tier frequent flyers and premium cabin clients that remove the airport from the experience entirely. No public check-in. A dedicated facility with private security, a car transfer from the private terminal to the aircraft. That means the passenger does not walk through a public gate on board the aircraft before general boarding begins. In some markets, this extends to a full meet and assist service where a dedicated handler manages the passport control, the baggage, the transfer, and the onward transportation at the destination, so that the passenger's experience from door to door involves no queue, no uncertainty, and no moment where the passenger is required to navigate the airport as a member of the general traveling public. The price for business class at this level is not significantly different from level 4. What is different is the relationship the airline has built with this specific passenger through years of documented loyalty and the service infrastructure that relationship has unlocked. Level 7, the final level. The business class seat that is not a seat. There are aircraft configurations in commercial aviation that sit technically within the business class cabin designation, but deliver a product that has more in common with a private jet than with the seat 3 rows in front of it. Full cabin buyouts by corporate accounts where every seat in the business class cabin is reserved for one company's travelers on a specific route, creating a private environment within a commercial aircraft. Airline partnerships with private terminal operators that mean the departure experience involves no commercial airport interaction at any point. Custom catering commissioned in advance by the client's assistant, specifying dietary requirements, preferred wines, preferred meal timing, and preferred service style. A crew briefed on the specific preferences of specific passengers by name before the aircraft departs. The man at this level does not book flights. His travel team manages a relationship with the airline's corporate accounts division that produces a service product which is assembled around his schedule rather than around the airline's published timetable. He has flown the same route enough times that the crew recognizes him, not because he is famous. Level 6 is where the airport disappears from the journey. Level 7 is where the commercial flight becomes a private operation that happens to use a commercial aircraft. The mistake most people make is thinking business class is about the seat. At every level above 4, it is not about the seat. It is about the removal of every friction between where you are and where you are going. The seat was never the point. The seamlessness always was. If this was useful, subscribe. I break down what travel actually looks like above the cabin divider. See you in the next one.